What's good, you guys? It's your boy Ben Mahari here, represent Mahari Nation Sports Podcast. Hope y'all have been having a good weekend here, guys. Hope you all have been, enjoying the summer, man. We're about to enter into summer right now in Minnesota, and it's been very, very hot, throughout the weekend. So, summer's hitting us early, so it is what it is. But I wanted to talk about, today's Game 7 that we saw earlier in the afternoon. The LA Clippers finally ended the series against the Dallas Mavericks as they defeated the Mavericks 126 to 111 in Game 7 to end perhaps one of the most wackiest, one of the most unexpected but most dramatic series that we are going to find in the first round of the playoffs this year. But the Clippers ended the home court disadvantage jinx and got it done in Game 7 against the Dallas Mavericks. And heading into this game, there were so many different factors heading in there. If the home court advantage was going to finally break through, or if the road team was going to finally win it again and make it very, very crazy. But you know what? The Clippers showed their grit. The thing with the Clippers is that the Clippers play best when their backs were against the wall. And certainly with the 3-1 blown lead that they had in last year's playoffs against the Denver Nuggets, in the back of their minds, there was no doubt in anyone else's mind that they needed to win this series in the worst way. And so the thing that I really liked about how this game turned out was is that, it was pretty much a tale of two different halves. You know, Kawhi Leonard was pretty much assertive offensively. He after he had his historical 45-point performance, he came back once again with 28 points, 10 rebounds, and 9 assists, and also 4 steals. Paul George, contributed with 22 points, 10 assists, and 3 steals. So he pretty much did his part and didn't disappear like pandemic PG normally would do. But also, what really shouted out to me the most was the bench really stepped up for the Clippers and made the big shots when they had to. When you look at the final box score of the game, when you look at the stats, the LA Clipper bench outscored the Dallas Maverick bench 27-6. That was the big difference because it showed to me that the role players off the bench, like players like I'm going to name right now as I put the names up right here. Guys like Terrence Mann, Luke Kennard, and Rajon Rondo and Terrence Mann, they stepped up and made big shots when they needed to the most, and that was very, very important. And so they contributed in a big time way and made the big shots. While unfortunately the Mavericks role players did not do that, and so unfortunately, you know, Dorian Finley-Smith contributed with 18 points, but he contributed nothing in the second half. Tim Hardaway Jr. only scored 11 points, and Kristaps Porzingis. I'm gonna tell you something. He only scored 15 points in the last two ball games combined, and today he contributed with 16 points and 11 rebounds. But he really, really wasn't efficient as he should have been. Luka Doncic was pretty much his dominant self. He scored 46 points and grabbed and dished out 14 assists, and he was only 3 rebounds away from a triple double. And with that performance in set, he became the second player in the history of the playoffs to score 45 to score 40 plus points and dish off 10 plus assists in a Game 7. The last person to do that was Kevin Johnson back in 1995. Um, you know, the thing that's going to be interesting for the Mavericks next year is that they're going to need to find a way to improve the supporting cast. And Kristaps Porzingis, I'm telling you, he's not a guy that is comfortable playing as the second option on any team. He's primarily a guy that is more comfortable as being the first option. And there have been times when even when he was the first option, that his inconsistencies has always showed to itself. And so the Kristaps Porzingis needs to go. I think he needs to go, and they're going to need to find a way to improve some of the key pieces on the supporting cast. Now, I think Tim Hardaway Jr. is a really good player, and he can really shoot the ball, but sometimes he's always sometimes inconsistent. And Boban Marjanovic, is a big man, but he sometimes can be a liability on the offensive end too. And so they're gonna really need to find a way to find another one more go to guy that's gonna really help Luka Doncic in the big way to help him with his spacing. Because what Luca's learning is at this young stage is that as talented as he is, and as numbers that he can always put up every night, that getting your team to the playoffs is one thing, but getting them past a first round series and getting them deep into the playoffs is another thing. That's something that Dirk Nowitzki had to learn through early on in his career as well. And so, he's got a lot of room to grow, and he's gonna get better as his career progresses. But what he's gonna learn is that you're going to need more than just your dominant self. You can't you can't necessarily believe that you're going to carry a team to a championship by yourself. In this realm of basketball, it's just not going to happen. You need guys, you need a dominant supporting cast, and you need one more, you know, star player or a go-to guy that's going to really help you carry, release some of the pressure off of you. And so right now, he's only what 22, 23 years old, so he's still got a lot to learn. And so, he's going to continue to get better. His game has really been his game has been unbelievable at times. I don't believe that he's a stat pattern at all. I never believed that at all. Because I can simply give you one name, Ricky Davis. He was the ultimate stat pattern and never contributed to a winning team. And so Luca to me is not even close to the definition of a stat pattern. But you know, now on the other side of the ledger, you got the LA Clippers that now got back into the second round. Now the issue is going to be what Clipper team is going to show themselves against the Utah Jazz. Now, listen, the Utah Jazz have been consistently been one of the best teams in the Western Conference over the last 3 years, and they're very sound offensively. They led the NBA in scoring. They're one of the top 10 best defensive teams in the league. But the reason why many people don't have the Jazz coming out of the West is because most of them are basically biased to a certain extent of the bigger cities, of course, but also they believe that Utah does not have that go-to guy or that superstar presence that's going to get them over the hump. Now, I generally do believe that to a certain extent, but I don't understand why people don't give Donovan Mitchell his due as a star. The guy that's their main guy. So. And you got guys like Rudy Gobert, who's an excellent defender, one of the best defensive centers in the game right now. And you also got Mike Conley, who's an excellent veteran presence out there. You got Joe Ingles that can shoot from the outside. You got other players on the Utah Jazz that can shoot the ball from the outside. So I'm not I'm not entirely convinced of the critics at all. But like I said, you know, it's about can you get it done in the postseason. And so the end of the day, man, this it's gonna be a very tight series. The the thing gonna be for the Clippers is that they cannot keep their foot off the gas pedal. They have to consistently keep their foot on the gas pedal throughout the whole entire series. And also, if they somehow get into a 3-1 advantage or whatever, they need to make sure to close that thing out ASAP Rocky. All right. Now listen, you best believe that the memories of what happened last year in the playoffs are still into the minds of the Clippers. They don't want to relive those memories again. And so you best believe that Kawhi Leonard is going to do whatever he can to avoid that from happening. And the question I'm going to have for myself for the Clippers is that can you trust Paul George to step his game to another level at this time of the playoffs? Because we've seen in the past few years, even when he was in OKC, that he sometimes disappears when his number is called and when the stage is brighter. And so that's what I'll be interested to see. Also, that point guard committee thing with Terrence Mann and um, Reggie Jackson and Rajon Rondo and those guys. Listen, I think that the two guys that you got to pretty much consistently rely on is Terrence Mann and Reggie Jackson. They provide you better scoring than what Rondo could provide you, even though Rondo is a steady veteran that can keep things under control. I frankly at this point I don't even wouldn't even care about Patrick Beverly because Patrick Beverly is pretty much he wasn't even playing that much later deep into that series against the Mavericks. So you best believe that he's not going to have much opportunities to have some playing any playing time at all. And so that's going to be a very very interesting series, and I think that could be one of those series that could possibly because decide who comes out of the West. Because whatever happens between the Denver Nuggets and the Phoenix Suns, that's going to be a really tight series. So, but congratulations to the LA Clippers. They got it done. They ended the home court disadvantage and got it done in Game 7 on their home floor. And now they move on to the second round. but it's not going to get easy against the Utah Jazz. So they're because they're fully rested, they're ready, and they're much more deeper and much better defensively than the Dallas Mavericks are. And so they're going to they're going to have their hands full against them in the second round. And you best believe that the memories of that failure in last year's playoffs against the Denver Nuggets are still, floating in their minds. So we're gonna see if the Clippers learned their lessons from a year ago, or are the same issues, still manifesting themselves even a year later. So great game, great series, and salute to both teams, salute to both stars, both Leonard and Luka Doncic for giving us the best entertaining first round series of this year's playoffs. But we're gonna see what happens in the second round. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. And with that, I'm out. Peace.